I'm Brianna and I'm 23 years old, and my wife and I just bought this $305,000 duplex. As a real estate agent, one of the number one questions I'm constantly asked is, how do I buy my first investment property? If you're a beginner looking to invest in real estate, this video is for you. And I'd also like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Taylor Brands, but more on that later. Let's get into it. In this video, I'm gonna go through the step-by-step process from experience of buying your own property, buying your own home, and getting started on your investing journey through real estate. Now, there's a reason that 90% of millionaires are through real estate, and it's not by accident. Now, the first step is going to be to define your investing goals, because there's a lot of ways to make money in real estate. There's cash flow, there's tax deductions, there's appreciation, and then there's your loan pay down. So your loan pay down is basically the equity you have in the property. If I buy a property for $300,000 and I pay down $50K, I technically have $50K net worth in the property. I have that money in the property that I can take out in a home equity line of credit or in various other ways that the bank offers. Then there's appreciation. Over time, statistically, real estate goes up in value, and over the long term, this can be generally expected. Then there's tax deduction, and there's tons of tax deduction when it comes to real estate, but mainly, just for an example, if you make $100,000 through rental properties and real estate, or flipping houses, building new constructions, whatever it is, that income looks different to the IRS than $100,000 you make from a job. And subsequently, it's taxed differently, and often you're going to be paying a lot less. The last one is cash flow, and cash flow is money you make on your rental properties monthly. For example, we just got this duplex and both sides are 2-bed, 1-bath. Now, I ran the comps, and each side can be rented for $1,500. Our mortgage comes out to around $2,300, which means, to simplify it, we would have $700 left over of cash flow every single month. Now, when you're buying an investment property, there's a lot more that goes into it. For example, you need to set aside usually 10% for capital expenditures, like when the roof breaks or the AC breaks down in the future, or just general maintenance. Usually we set aside money for that every single month, which digs into that cash flow. And people have different numbers, but for vacancies, you also set aside 5%, just in case there's a month of vacancy or two in the property. You already have that covered through the money you're setting aside and taking out of your cash flow. Step 2, once you have your goals nailed down and exactly what you're trying to get into when it comes to real estate, we need to figure out if you can actually buy a property and how to prepare yourself to buy a property. By this, I mean getting your ID, your tax returns, your bank statements together for a lender to view. And this is something you can do now. Even if you don't feel like you're ready, you can go talk to a lender now and see where you stand and what you need to change in order to be able to buy a property in the future. So when you go to buy a rental property, what they're going to look at is your debt to income ratio. And what that means is most banks only allow you to have, I've seen up to 50%, but it's usually 43% of your income can be going towards debt. And so just to simplify this, let's say you make $1,000 a month. Well, only $430 of that can go towards debt every month. And every minimum payment you have is going to be subtracted from that. So out of that $430, let's say you owe $50 on a credit card. You subtract the $50 from the $430, and that's $380 that you have towards that you can put towards a mortgage. Let's say you're paying $50 a month in student loans. Well, now that $380 turns to $330, and so on. Now, I'm using $1,000 just to keep it super simple, but consider this with a $3,000 income, a $4,000 income. That $380 is more like $3,800 that you have available for a mortgage. And something that the bank is also going to look at is your credit score. And this is why having a good credit score is so important, because they're going to use that to determine your interest rate. And even a 1% difference in interest rate can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, think about it. This is a 30-year loan. So when you're ready to shop for a house and get pre-qualified, you can shop around for lenders and see who will give you the best rate. And let's say your credit score isn't up to par to even get a house. Now you know you can start working towards improving your credit score, so you'll be ready in a year from now or 2 years, or whenever it's time for you to be able to buy a house. Now, actually, when it comes to investment properties, it's actually easier to get into them than it is to get into a single family home. And the reason for this is because they're able to use some of your projected rental income to qualify you. For example, with this duplex, they used up to 75% of my projected rents and added that to my income. So I'm gonna give you an example. Let's say with this duplex, each side got projected to be around $1,500 a month. Well, they won't let me use the full $1,500, but they'll let me use 75% of that. So 15, that would be $3,000 a month this property is bringing in. They'll let me use 75% of that. That comes out to $2,250. So all of a sudden, $2,250 a month is added to my income. And this is used to help me qualify for the property. The same thing applies to fourplexes, triplexes, duplexes, etc. Just all multifamily up to fourplexes. So it's pretty cool that they can kind of use your cash flow that you don't even have to be able to buy a rental property. And speaking of the cash flow, we also mentioned tax deductions earlier. And this is just a bonus tip. One way you can get more tax deductions is by having an LLC and putting your rental properties or future rental properties in an LLC so you can protect yourself. LLCs just make your business look more legal and they allow you protection. But speaking of LLCs, I've created multiple LLCs for multiple businesses, and if you're watching this, you're probably someone who's ambitious and kind of thinking the same way, and probably looking to start a business if you haven't already. And I found that the easiest solution for starting any business and doing this is the sponsor of today's video, Taylor Brands. I actually personally use them for my business and was able to get business cards, t-shirts, my logo, my website. It's an all-in-one solution for everything in your business. They can help you get your LLC, and doing this is super important when doing your real estate business because it allows you a lot more protection. Not only is this going to protect all your assets, but it's also going to lower your tax bill. And once you do have your LLC, you're able to open a business bank account. You can also easily access attorney-written documents like contracts and supplier agreements. You can get business insurance, get your business license and permits, trademark your business, and more. If you need an all-in-one solution, I've made it easy and linked in the description. Now back to the duplex. So you may be asking for the previous step, how do I find a lender? And I'd say this is where it comes to building your professional team when you're looking for a duplex. Doing research and finding a team of people to help you buy a property kind of goes hand in hand because your professionals can help you do the math and run your numbers and make sure you're not getting scammed or screwed over on a deal. So let's say you're trying to find a lender, you don't know anybody. Well, once you find a real estate agent, they can often help you. And I'm actually a real estate agent myself, and I have a team of lenders that I normally help people connect to, and a lot of realtors are like that. And I'm sure there's some in your area that can help you out too. If you want help from me personally though, I do have a form below that you can fill out and someone will reach out to you to help you out. Now, by now, this is where you're researching and trying to figure out what you're looking to buy and what's on the market, and you have a team to help you with this. As a real estate agent, when you find a property that you like, I can run the numbers and look at comps and see if it even is worth that much or what would make a good offer or not. In my case, when buying this property, I happen to be a real estate agent, and so I was able to represent myself and even keep my side of the commission to apply it towards the property. And leave a comment if that's something you want a video on, because it's actually crazy that I can even do that. We've talked about getting your lending, building a team, considering what your goals are. So I would say step 3 is starting to research, and then step 4 is finding an agent and building your team up. Now let's say you've cleared these 4 steps. You've done your research, you have a lender, you can get the financing, you're basically pre-approved for a property, and let's say you've researched and found a property. Well, now, step 5, it's time to put an offer in on it. And this is where your real estate agent is gonna help you with the contract and navigate your negotiations to get you the best deal so you can make the most money. I'd say a really good strategy when looking for your first property is doing what we're doing. We're buying this duplex, we're gonna live on one side and rent out the other, which means we were able to get away with putting only 3.5% down. Typically, you're gonna have to put 3.5% to 20% if you don't live in it. 3 or 3.5% is the lowest you can really get. Now, the only reason they allow us to put so little down is because we're making it a primary residence. And what a lot of real estate investors do when they're starting is they'll start in a duplex, do the same thing, or any multifamily really. You can do this with a triplex or a fourplex, but they'll start with that and then they'll do it the next year after that, because legally you have to live in it for a year. So let's say you buy in October, you live in it for 1 year, now you can rent out both sides and get all the cash flow and move into another duplex. And guess what? The rent and cash flow from that property is gonna be considered in your income. And that's why once you have your first property, it's easier to keep buying more and more and more, because they just keep building up like that and they keep using your rents to qualify you on top of the income you already have from your job or business. Now, once you've solidified your offer and sent it in, it's time to see if it gets accepted, if you go under contract, and if you do go under contract, it's time to hire a good inspector. I'd call around, get recommendations, see if you can find somebody, because oftentimes you will need some work on the house, you'll need some repairs. With this house, we had to build a fence. We're currently switching out all the windows. They haven't been switched out yet, but we're gonna have to switch them out. And that stuff gets pricey. Usually you have a set amount in your head that you think you're gonna need to buy a house, and you need a couple thousand more than that, I would say, especially when it comes to closing costs. Now, when you're under contract and you're going through the closing process, You're gonna find out really quick that there's also closing costs. You have to pay for the inspection, you have to pay for an appraisal, and it starts to add up little by little. So this is something I would also have savings for, so you're not what's called house poor. What happens with a lot of people is they use every cent they have left to buy a property to where when they're actually in the house, they can't do anything else. And then you end up in a really tight spot because all of a sudden you have nothing, but you do have a mortgage. And you do have to pay it every month. So that's the number one thing I'd say to avoid and really set yourself up for success by having some extra savings set aside. Now that you've been set up for success by keeping all these things in mind and having a good realtor, having a good lender, really building up your team that's gonna help you out, doing your research, I have some resources for you that are gonna help you with this along the way. Now, of course, on this YouTube channel, I have a ton of free videos that teach you all about real estate. And be sure to subscribe because it's scientifically proven that when you subscribe, your net worth goes up. But on top of this channel, I'd also recommend Bigger Pockets. Their YouTube channel and their books are fantastic. And Investopedia is a great website and resource when it comes to anything money, even stocks, real estate, everything really. Now, step 6, it's closing day and it's time to close on your deal. You're gonna go into your title company and finish up all the paperwork and they're gonna hand you the keys and you're gonna be a new investment property owner. Congratulations on completing this step-by-step guide on beginner real estate investing, and comment real estate if you made it to the end of the video. Remember, investing in real estate requires planning carefully, research, and professional guidance. But with the right approach, you can really create a long-term income. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and be sure to check out Taylor Brands in the description down below for all your business needs. That's all I got. I'll see you on the next video.